problem with me, come and see me and punch me on the nose. I ain't gonna sue you, I'm gonna hit you back.
That's a quote from legendary drummer Ginger Baker, best known for his work with Cream, Traffic, and Ginger Bakers Airforce. There's something that I really like. No. Something I really admire about that statement. I like that kind of forthright honesty, that you know exactly where you stand with this person. While the movie Beware of Mr. Baker makes a compelling argument that Ginger Baker might be the greatest drummer in rock music history, it makes an even more compelling argument that he was the first drummer to define what it means to be a rock drummer. The outlandishness, the stage presence, the showmanship, and the craziness. Throughout the film, Ginger Baker states that in all of his previous bands that he made music that can't be fit into a box. He admires and lives by this statement, and I admire this too. But my admiration stops there, because you see, Beware of Mr. Baker is a movie about a bastard who also just happens to be a famous drummer. Wondering the whereabouts of the legendary Cream drummer, filmmaker and writer Ray Bulgar finds him living in South Africa. He concocts a story about being a writer for Rolling Stone magazine and that he wants to interview him. Said interview ends up being published by Rolling Stone, and a lie is turned into fact. Interviewing both Ginger Baker and members of his family and former bandmates, a portrait arises of a man who is as musically brilliant as he is humanly horrible to family and friends, and a man who teeters on madness. The film is sprinkled with testimonials from other legendary drummers like Steve Copeland from The Police and Neil Peart of Rush. But for every testimonial to his musical brilliance, there is the damning evidence of a man whose horrible treatment of his family and friends has led to his own miserable existence. This is a man whose own son states in the film that it might have been better if he had never had a family, and that he might have left a lot less of a mess if he hadn't had a family. At one point, he tells the same son, whom I want to add is a brilliant drummer, that he just doesn't have it as far as his playing is concerned, and then later tells him that he doesn't care what happens to him. This is his son that he is talking to. This is a man who just up and abandons his wife and children when things get too difficult for him. By film's end, he is living with his fourth wife, a young South African woman, and her children. When she is questioned by the filmmaker if he is a good father or not, she is silent for far too long before letting out a yes that feels so forced that it may have just as well have been a no. Later, he mentions that if he doesn't get some money soon, he will have to sell his compound and move out. What is shocking about this scene is that he says it in front of his fourth wife who, judging by her reaction, is clearly hearing this for the first time. And while she says nothing, you can see the "what is going to happen to myself and my children" look in her eye. By film's end, he has sold the compound. The film then tries to give us a somewhat positive ending by showing him returning to performing live. But no mention is made of what happened to his fourth wife or her children. Did he just abandon them like he's done in the past? If he did, it wouldn't surprise me. Art and madness are sometimes strange bedfellows, and sometimes it takes a certain amount of madness to create great art. And the film explores this theme to great effect. This movie did help me gain a new appreciation for Ginger Baker as a musician, but this film also served as an abject lesson in the idea that you reap what you sow, that everything you accomplish professionally is going to be meaningless if you are just going to allow it to destroy your relationships with your family and friends. Filmmaker Ray Bulgar does try to give some explanation as to what makes this man act the way that he does towards everybody. But then by film's end, he himself is attacked by Ginger Baker, physically attacked. And so to the one man who is trying to tell his story, He does what he has done to everybody in his life who has gotten too close. He pushes them aside. Beware of Mr. Baker is one of the most compelling and sometimes heartbreaking music documentaries that I have ever seen. And it is currently available on Netflix Instant. On a rating of 4 stars, I would give this a full 4 stars. Highly recommended. This is TJR, and thank you so much for watching. And have you seen this movie? I'm very curious to hear what you thought. Please leave a comment. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.